What's up, everybody? Tim Conley here, and we are going to talk about the one thing, the very one thing that all clients want from their agency, and that's leadership. Oh, you thought I was going to say something like return on investment, leads, or something like that. No, what they're after is someone who can lead them to success. Clients want an expert guide to take them from point A to point Z. So we're going to get right into 3 things that you have to be a leader for your client. The number one thing where you're able to lead your clients is through communications. Most people just do not communicate with their clients enough. Err on the side of over communication. Maybe you feel like you're being a bit of a pest and you might be getting enough communication going their way. But you don't want it to be a one-way street. If you're just giving updates, hey, here's what I did. I just did this thing. I just did this other thing. It actually does annoy people. What you want is communications where there's a dialogue. You say something, they say something. Then you say something and they say something back. That's what you're actually after. Most people don't get this with their clients. When they do have a conversation, it's usually the client telling them what to do, not liking what they've done. It's not a communication of peers, let alone a communication of leader to client. It is actually the client telling you what to do, the client being in charge of the communications and being in charge of the project. That turns you into a vendor at best or a not very good employee. When you're leading your client communications, it starts really before the sale. But as you take them into the sale, your onboarding process has to set you up as the expert, as a person who has a process that you're going to take them through. So you're going to communicate that process early, and you're going to continue to communicate that process often. What I do with my clients after they've agreed to become a client is I tell them I'm going to send them an email, and that email is going to give them the next steps. Then after they get to that next step, they get explained what's going to be the step after that. When we're having our coaching calls, I do the same thing there, where I will tell them, here's what we've done, here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're going to do next, so that when we get to the next step, they know exactly what it is, when it's going to happen, and what they're expected to do. I know it may sound overbearing or maybe even paternal, where you're telling this person, here's what you need to do, here's your next step, take this very next one. Oh, you better wait for that step because it's coming up in the future. I know it may sound like that's what you're doing, but you're not. You're actually bringing them through a process that makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel like they've made the right decision in choosing you. The next part of leading your client is to lead them through your process. And I really do hope you have a process. And if you don't have a process, well then pause this video, sit down, write out like a flow chart of your process. Where do you start? What's the next step? What happens after that? And all the way until you're done and the client is happy. Write down that entire process. You need to take your client through it. They should be able to see it visually. During your onboarding process, you would show them, here is our process. We're going to do this step, and then we're going to do this next step, and we're going to do the next one. And that lets them know that you understand what it is that you do. It's a powerful tool, just showing people that you actually have a process, or at least a framework. Like, we're going to keep you inside this box during this whole project so it makes you feel safe and snuggly. We're going to make sure that your project goes perfectly. Your formal process, one that you've identified to your client, is going to make sure that the client understands that their responsibilities. They're going to understand when they are asking for something out of scope or asking for something that isn't going to get done until later because it's in, say, phase 3 and you're currently in phase 1. When clients don't know what's going on, they start pushing back on you. They start questioning the things that you deliver to them. They start questioning your account manager, saying, hey, is this project getting done? What am I actually putting my time and money into? See, freaking Siri. Stop, Siri. Okay, where was I? When a client stops listening to you, you stop being an expert. Maybe you still hold on to vendor status, but what's likely to happen is the client is gonna leave. They're not gonna be happy with the way they feel. And the crazy thing is, you might actually be doing a great job, but the client won't feel like it. They won't feel like this project is moving forward, even if it is. That's part of that communication issue, but also they don't know where they are in your process. So that ambiguity starts to put a strain on your client relationship. So make sure you have a process, that you make it visual, and you show them where they are in that process at all times during the project. If you're in phase 1, they need to know they're in phase 1. When they're going to move to phase 2, you need to tell them how they're going to move to phase 2. When they're in phase 2, you got to tell them they're in phase 2, and so forth until the project is done. This third part of leading your clients is the best part. It's the one we all hope is going to happen, but seldom ever does. Probably because we do the first and second one not very well. But in this third one, when you're leading your clients properly, what happens is you end up leading them to the next project. You get paid more, you grow the account. As you're working on a project, you're trying to get to know your client. You need to get to know their business fairly well beyond the scope of this individual project so that you can, well, take them to the next project. If you're not guiding them, and you're just gonna wait for them to say, hey, I'll hire you again sometime in the future, well, you've just lost business. The best time to get somebody to buy from you is after they've already bought from you. So we don't want to just delay things. If we get to know our client, we communicate with them well, and they like our process, they like working with us, and they like our process, there's no reason you should not be able to get another project, maybe even a recurring project. Maybe get them on a recurring retainer or some type of service like ad management where you're going to be doing something for them every single month for years. Leading your client to the next project is the ultimate leadership. It shows that you did a good job of communicating. It shows you did a good job of project managing, moving them through the process to where they're a happy client and they want to do more business with you. And here's a tip. Leading them to the next project isn't necessarily their project, but a referral. Get them to help you get another client. This is a fantastic way of leading a client to your next project. I hope I've led you through a great lesson and maybe even led you over to that like button. Click that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you, hopefully, in the next video.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the bag like here I go again. Outside says chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long?